Imagine waking up to a lawyer's call. You've inherited 1,000 acres of prime land. But there's a twist. The entire snooty HOA neighborhood is built right on it, and they've been ruling like tyrants. They think they're untouchable. Oh, they're wrong. What do I do next? Pure, satisfying revenge. Buckle up, this gets wild. My name is Alex. Well, let's just say Alex for the story. And 2 months ago, my life looked nothing like this. I was 34, living in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled faintly of yesterday's takeout. Rent was always 3 days late. My car made a death rattle noise every time I hit 40 miles an hour. I worked remote customer support for a company that paid just enough to keep the lights on, but never enough to dream bigger. Weekends were Netflix and hoping the paycheck cleared before the electric bill did. Glamorous? Not even close. Then the phone rang on a rainy Tuesday morning. Unknown number with a fancy area code. I almost let it go to voicemail, probably another scam, but something made me pick up. A calm, professional voice introduced himself as Mr. Hargrove, estate attorney. He asked if I was Alexander Reed, son of Margaret Reed, nephew of the late Evelyn Whitaker. I said yes, confused. Aunt Evelyn? I hadn't seen her since I was 12. She lived on the other side of the country, never married, no kids, kind of the mysterious rich relative nobody talked about. Last I heard, she was in assisted living. I figured she'd left whatever she had to charity. Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat. Mr. Reed, I'm calling to inform you that you are the sole beneficiary of Ms. Whitaker's estate. Pause. Including her real property holdings. I laughed nervously. Okay, like her house. Some savings. A longer pause. 1,012 acres to be precise. Valued currently at approximately $28 million. Plus liquid assets bringing the total estate north of $32 million. The room spun. I sat down hard on my thrift store couch. $32 million? That couldn't be right. I asked him to repeat it. Twice. Then I asked for proof. He emailed documents while we were still on the call. Death certificate, well dated 7 years earlier, notarized ironclad. My name was there in black and white. Soleil. No cantes close. No other claimants. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Aunt Evelyn had barely spoken to my mom after some family argument in the 90s. I'd sent her one Christmas card in 2015 out of guilt. That was it. And now this? The next 48 hours were a blur. I took unpaid leave. Flew out on the first affordable ticket I could find. Mr. Hargrove met me at a small regional airport with a black SUV and an even blacker leather portfolio. We drove for almost an hour through rolling green hills, past horse farms and new subdivisions, until we turned onto a private gravel road flanked by white fences. He stopped at a locked gate. Beyond it, endless pasture, ancient oaks, a distant line of rooftops that looked suspiciously like McMansions. This, he said quietly, is yours. I got out and just stood there. The air smelled like cut grass and possibility. 1,000 acres. I could barely wrap my head around an acre, let alone 1,000. Mr. Hargrove handed me a thick folder labeled Whitaker Land Holdings Survey and Title Report. I flipped it open while he explained. Most of the land was raw, pasture, woodland, a small creek running through the western edge. But 320 acres in the center? Developed. Heavily developed. A gated community called Emerald Crest Estates. 218 luxury homes, clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, private lake. Built between 2008 and 2016. Homeowners Association in full control. Annual dues north of $8,000 per household. Strict covenants. Fines for everything from the wrong mailbox color to unapproved holiday lights. I looked up at him. Wait, you're telling me this entire neighborhood is sitting on land I just inherited? He nodded slowly. The title search is clear. Your aunt retained the underlying fee simple title to the entire parcel. The developer, Whitaker Development Group, which she owned, leased the surface rights to the HOA under a 99-year ground lease signed in 2007. That lease required annual payments of $1. $1, Mr. Reed. And those payments stopped in 2019. My mouth went dry. Stopped. No record of tender. Noti null. The lease contains a reversion clause. If payments cease for more than 30 days, the surface rights revert to the landowner. That landowner is now you. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. Revert, meaning the HOA didn't actually own the land their million-dollar homes sat on. They were squatters? With really nice landscaping? Mr. Hargrove continued in that same measured tone. The HOA board has operated for years under the assumption the ground lease was perpetual or had been quietly purchased. It wasn't. Your aunt never sold the underlying title. She simply stopped cashing their symbolic dollar checks. I laughed, a short, disbelieving bark. So they think they own it? Legally? No. Practically? They've acted like they do for over a decade. Fining residents $500 for painting a front door blue. Banning basketball hoops. Forcing people to remove vegetable gardens because crops are not aesthetically appropriate. They've even foreclosed on 2 homes for unpaid dues. Homes they didn't technically have authority to touch. I stared across the fields at the rooftops. Red tile, white trim, perfectly manicured lawns stretching like a carpet. Somewhere in there were people who paid a fortune to live in a place that wasn't even theirs. People who probably sneered at anyone who couldn't afford the dues. People who had no idea a random 34-year-old from a crappy apartment now held the keys to their entire world. Mr. Hargrove closed the folder. You have options. You can negotiate a new lease. Sell the land outright. They'd probably pay a premium to avoid uncertainty. Or you let the word hang. Or, I prompted, you could enforce the reversion. Terminate the lease. Reclaim possession. Dissolve their authority entirely. The wind moved through the grass. A hawk circled overhead. I thought about every late rent payment, every collection call, every time I'd smiled through gritted teeth at a boss who treated me like I was disposable. Then I thought about those HOA board members sitting in their big houses, writing violation letters, acting like little kings and queens. A slow grin spread across my face. But when I dug deeper into the title history, I tell you now, leaning closer to the camera, I found something even juicier. Something that made their whole empire look like a house of cards. What was it? So there I was, standing at that fence line with Mr. Hargrove, staring at Emerald Crest Estates like it was some kind of mirage. A whole neighborhood of mini mansions, golf carts humming along pristine streets, American flags snapping in the breeze, and none of them technically owned the dirt under their feet. It felt surreal, almost funny, but the more I learned, the less funny it got. That first afternoon, Mr. Hargrove drove me around the perimeter on back roads so we wouldn't draw attention. From the outside, it looked perfect. Identical brick mailboxes, blooming crepe myrtles, not a single weed daring to show its face. But he started pointing out details most people wouldn't notice. See that white van parked sideways in the cul-de-sac, he said. That's the HOA's enforcement officer. They pay him to patrol and snap photos of violations. Last month, he ticketed a family for leaving their trash cans out 5 minutes past pickup. I raised an eyebrow. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. The fine was $200. They fought it. Lost. Had to pay $350 after late fees. I felt my stomach twist. I've been on the receiving end of petty power trips my whole working life. Micromanaging bosses, passive-aggressive emails. But this was next level. These people weren't just strict. They were cruel. Over the next week, I dug in. I couldn't just storm in waving the title deed. That would tip my hand too soon. Instead, I played tourist. I rented an Airbnb 30 minutes away, borrowed a nicer car from a friend, so I didn't look like the broke guy I still technically was, and started attending open houses. Pretended I was relocating for work. Smiled a lot. Asked innocent questions. What I heard made my blood boil. First was Karen. No joke. Actual name Karen Whitaker, no relation to my aunt, president of the HOA board. Mid-50s, platinum bob. Always in pastel golf attire, even when it wasn't golf season. Residents whispered about her the way people whisper about mob bosses. One realtor, thinking I was a serious buyer, leaned in and muttered, "If you move here, just pay the dues on time and keep your grass at exactly 3 inches. Karen measures. With a ruler. On Sundays. I laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't. Then there was the story of the Martinez family. I met their teenage daughter, Sophia, at the community pool during an open swim day. She was lifeguarding, volunteering because the HOA had cut paid staff to save money. We got talking. She told me her parents had bought their house in 2014. I loved the neighborhood at first. Then the rules started piling up. They fined us $400 because our Halloween decorations had too much orange, she said, rolling her eyes. Mom had to take down the pumpkins at midnight, or they threatened to tow our cars. I asked if they fought it. Sophia snorted. Dad tried. Went to a board meeting. Karen told him, quote, "If you don't like the rules, sell and move to the city with the other riffraff." He came home shaking. They paid. Stories like that kept coming. There was Mr. Delgado, a retired mechanic, 68 years old. He planted tomatoes and peppers in his backyard. The HOA cited him for unapproved agricultural activity, said it lowered property values. He argued it was food for his grandkids. They fined him monthly until he ripped everything out. Now he buys overpriced produce at the grocery store, and his blood pressure meds doubled. Then the Wilsons, young couple, first home, new baby. Their infant cried a lot at night. Neighbors complained about excessive noise. The HOA sent a violation letter demanding they mitigate the disturbance or face escalating fines. The Wilsons installed soundproofing they couldn't afford. The baby still cried. Last month, the HOA started foreclosure proceedings on their house over $6,200 in accumulated fines. $6,000 for crying baby. I heard these stories in bits and pieces, over coffee at the clubhouse, in the parking lot after open houses, even from the landscaping crew who worked the common areas. Everyone was scared. Nobody wanted their name used. But they talked because they were desperate, and because I listened without judging. The worst part? The board wasn't just enforcing rules. They were making money off misery. Fines went straight into administrative funds. No transparent accounting. Residents requested financial reports for 3 years straight. Denied every time. Karen's response at one meeting, according to a leaked audio clip I got my hands on later, "If you want transparency, buy your own island." I started keeping notes. Dates, names, fine amounts, rule citations. The pettier, the more outrageous. No bird feeders because wildlife attracts pests. No basketball hoops in driveways because they look trashy. No political signs, no religious flags. No children's play equipment visible from the street. One family got fined for letting their kid draw chalk art on their own driveway. Graffiti, the notice said. By the end of that first week, I wasn't just angry. I was furious in a cold, focused way. These weren't rules to keep a neighborhood nice. This was control, domination. A tiny group of entitled people lording power over everyone else because they could. I decided I needed inside access. So I did something risky. I showed up at the monthly HOA board meeting, not as the owner, as a prospective resident who'd been invited by a realtor friend. I wore khakis and a polo, blended right in, sat in the back row of the community center meeting room, smelled the coffee and passive aggression in equal measure. Karen ran the meeting like a dictator. Gavel banged. Eyes narrowed. They approved landscaping contracts with her brother-in-law's company at inflated rates. They voted to raise dues another 12% to cover inflation. When one homeowner, brave or foolish, raised a hand to question the financial opacity, Karen cut him off. "We've addressed this before, Mr. Patel. If you're unhappy, the exit is clearly marked." The room went silent. Nobody else spoke up. I left that meeting shaking. Not from fear, from rage. These people weren't protecting property values. They were feeding off them. And the land they stood on? It belonged to a guy who, until recently, couldn't afford to fix his car's muffler. I drove back to my Airbnb that night, replaying every word, every smirk. I opened my laptop and started cross-referencing the stories with public records, old covenants, anything I could pull without tipping my hand. That's when I found the first real crack. Buried in a 2010 amendment to the original ground lease, something even the board seemed to have forgotten, was a clause about material breaches. Non-payment wasn't the only trigger. Deliberate concealment of financial mismanagement could void the entire agreement. And from what residents described, There was more than enough concealment to go around. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. Little did they know, I held the ultimate power. Not just the land, evidence, leverage, and a growing list of people ready to cheer when the house of cards finally fell. But how would I use it? How far would I go? The day I reveal myself? That was when the real chaos began. Back in my Airbnb that night after the HOA meeting, I couldn't sleep. Karen's smug voice echoed in my head. If you're unhappy, the exit is clearly marked. I paced the tiny living room, laptop glowing on the coffee table. It was time to weaponize what I knew. Time to turn whispers into warfare. But first I needed ironclad proof. No half measures. This was my land, my inheritance. And these entitled tyrants had no idea the storm brewing right under their perfectly paved streets. I started with the basics. Pulled up the county property records online, public domain, thank God. Searched for Emerald Crest Estates and cross-referenced with Aunt Evelyn's name. There it was, the original ground lease from 2007. 99 years, $1 annual payment, reversion clause in bold print. Payments logged until 2018. Then nothing. Zip. The HOA had dropped the ball, or worse, assumed it didn't matter because who would notice? But that was just the surface. I needed deeper dirt. Called Mr. Hargrove first thing the next morning. I want to enforce the reversion, I told him. But quietly. What's my next move? He didn't hesitate. Hire a title attorney. Get a full abstract of the title. And start gathering evidence of breaches. If we prove mismanagement or fraud, the lease termination sticks like glue. Courts hate HOAs anyway. Judges were homeowners once too. By noon, I had a new lawyer on retainer. Ms. Elena Vasquez, sharp as a tack, specialized in real estate disputes. We met at a diner outside town, neutral ground. She was in her 40s, no-nonsense bun, coffee black. I slid her the folder. She skimmed it, eyes widening. This is gold, Alex. The reversion is straightforward. But to make it bulletproof, we need to show material breach beyond non-payment. Financial opacity? That's a start. Petty enforcement? Could argue harassment. If there's embezzlement. She trailed off, smiling like a shark. We brainstormed. First step, freedom of information request for any HOA filings with the state. HOAs aren't fully regulated everywhere, but this one incorporated as a nonprofit. That meant tax returns, board minutes, if they existed. Elena filed the paperwork that afternoon. Turnaround, 2 weeks. While waiting, I went undercover deeper. Created a fake social media profile, Jonathan Hale, interested investor. Joined the Emerald Crest Residents Facebook group. It was a goldmine of gripes. Posts about fines for unauthorized flower beds. Complaints about the pool closing early because Karen doesn't like evening swimmers. One thread had over 200 comments. HOA raised dues again. Where's the money going? I messaged a few vocal posters privately. Hey, thinking of buying in. I heard some stories. What's the real deal? Most ghosted me. Fear runs deep. But one responded. Lisa Thompson, mid-30s, single mom, nurse. We chatted briefly at an open house. It's a nightmare, she typed. They fined me $800 for my son's bike in the driveway. I work double shifts. Can't afford it. The board ignores appeals. I asked if she'd share documents. Hesitant at first, but I promised anonymity. She emailed scans, violation notices, appeal denials, even a bank statement showing dues payments. One line jumped out. Her dues included a special assessment for clubhouse renovations that never happened. Jackpot. Lisa wasn't alone. Over the next few days, I built a network. Met Tom Delgado, the tomato guy, at a local park. He was wiry, calloused hands, Vietnam vet hat. They took my garden. He grumbled over a bench-shared coffee. Said it was unsightly. Now, my grandkids eat store-bought crap full of chemicals. He handed me a stack of fine notices, yellowed with age. Use them if you can. Just don't say it's from me. Then the Wilsons. I knocked on their door one evening, posing as a journalist researching HOAs. They let me in, desperate for anyone to listen. Sarah Wilson, exhausted eyes, baby on her hip. The noise fine started when Ellie was colicky. We soundproofed, hired a nanny. Nothing helped. Now they're foreclosing. We could lose everything. Her husband, Mike, showed me emails from a board. Sredningtones no empathy. Pay or vacate. I photographed it all, heart aching. These weren't just stories. Their lives were ruined by power-drunk busybodies. With Elena's help, we organized the evidence. Spreadsheets of fines. Over $450,000 collected in the last 5 years alone. Where did it go? Not to maintenance. The tennis courts had cracks. The lake algae bloomed. Suspicious. Elena dug into board members' backgrounds. Karen Whitaker owned a real estate firm that flipped homes in the neighborhood. Conflict of interest much? Vice President Brad Harlan? His construction company got no-bid contracts for repairs. Secretary Donna Ellis? Her nephew ran the enforcement patrols. Classic self-dealing. Elena said during our next call. If we prove it, the lease voids faster than you can say class action. But proof needed teeth. I hired a private investigator, discreet, ex-cop type. Give him names, dates. Follow the money, I said. He tailed them for a week. Photos came back. Karen lunching with developers at fancy spots. Brad signed checks at HOA meetings that looped back to his firm. Donna depositing administrative fees into personal accounts. One night, the PI called me at midnight. Got something big. Board meeting tomorrow. Closed session. They're discussing a land deal. I froze. What kind? Selling common areas to a condo developer. But they don't own the land. Your land. Adrenaline surged. If they tried that, it was fraud. Attempted theft. I had to get in. Risky but necessary. The meeting was at the clubhouse. Members only. I convinced Lisa to lend me her key card for a friend visiting. Slipped in early, hid in a storage closet with a view through slats. Heart hammering like a drum. They filed in. Karen, Brad, Donna, 2 others. Noplias antrias. Karen slammed a folder down. The developer offers $2 million for the back 20 acres. We vote yes. Pocket the cut. Residents none the wiser. Brad grinned. My crew builds the condos. Easy profit. Donna nodded. Dues cover any legal fees. I recorded it all on my phone. Audio crystal clear. Close call when a custodian almost opened the closet, but he moved on. I slipped out sweating bullets, evidence burning in my pocket. Back with Elena, we reviewed. This is dynamite, she said. Attempted sale of property they don't own? Criminal. Plus, embezzlement everywhere. We plotted the revenge, ARC Phase 1, demand letter. Notify the board of the lease default. Demand immediate cessation of operations. Phase 2, lawsuit for damages. Back fines refunded to residents. Board personally liable. Phase 3, dissolution. Turn the land into something better. Community co-op? Affordable housing? My call. But I wanted personal touches. Playful jabs to twist the knife. Like enforcing my own rules once I took control. Mandatory potlucks to foster community. Or painting the clubhouse rainbow for diversity awareness. Watch them squirm. I allied more residents. Secret group chat. Rebels of Emerald Crest. 20 members by week's end. Shared stories, evidence. When do we fight? Tom asked. Soon, I replied. Very soon. One close call. Driving past the gate, Karen's car pulled up beside me at a light. She glanced over. Did she recognize me from a meeting? I looked away, pulse racing. She drove on. Phew. As files piled up, so did my confidence. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice. For the Martinezes, the Delgados, the Wilsons. For every little person crushed by big egos. Like if you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, comment below your stories. Makes me feel less alone in this madness. But the day I reveal myself, oh, that was pure fireworks. Chaos ensued, and nobody saw it coming. The big day arrived like a thunderclap. I'd spent the night before rehearsing in the mirror, calm, collected, facts first. No emotion. But inside, I was buzzing. This was it. The moment those HOA tyrants learned their kingdom was built on borrowed ground. My ground. Elena had prepped the documents. Certified title abstract, lease termination notice, even a cease and desist for ongoing operations. All notarized, copied in triplicate. I dressed sharp, button down, slacks like I was heading to court instead of a community center, grabbed my folder, hopped in a rental car, and drove to Emerald Crest with the radio off. Silence sharpened my focus. The meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. in the clubhouse great room, open to residents, but I knew from spies in the Rebels group chat that attendance was usually low. Fear kept people away. Tonight, though, I tipped off a few allies. Lisa, Tom, the Wilsons, they'd be there, quietly recording on phones. Moral support with evidence baked in. I arrived early, parked down the street to avoid suspicion. Walked up casually, keycard from Lisa getting me through the gate. The clubhouse loomed. White columns, chandelier visible through windows, like a mini country club. Inside, the air smelled of lemon polish and entitlement. About 30 residents milled around folding chairs, murmuring. Karen was at the front table with Brad and Donna, shuffling papers, whispering. She looked pristine in a pearl necklace and blazer. Brad, burly with a comb-over, sipped coffee. Donna adjusted her glasses, prim as ever. I slipped into a back row seat, heart thumping. The clock hit 7. Karen banged her gavel. Wood on wood, sharp as a judge's order. Meeting called to order. Minutes from last session approved as read. First item, pool maintenance bids. They droned through agenda items like nothing was amiss. Raising fees for enhanced security. Approving Brad's company for yet another contract. Residents shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. I waited for the open forum section, last on the list when homeowners could speak. Finally, open comments. Keep it to 3 minutes each. A couple hands went up. Minor gripes, a broken streetlight, noisy neighbors. Karen nodded politely, promised reviews. Then it was my turn. I stood, walked to the microphone at the front. Eyes turned. Whispers started. Karen squinted. State your name and address for the record. I clear my throat, voice steady. Alexander Reed. No address in Emerald Crest, yet. But I own the land it's all built on. The room froze. A pin-drop silence. Then murmurs rippled like waves. Karen's face tightened. Excuse me? This meeting is for residents only. If you're not, I opened my folder, pulled out the title deed. Hold it high. I'm the sole owner of the underlying fee-simple title to the entire 1,000-acre Whitaker parcel, including every square inch of this development. The ground lease your HOA operates under? Terminated due to non-payment and multiple breaches. Gasps. Chair scraped. Someone whispered, "What the hell?" Brad leaned forward, red-faced. "This is nonsense. Security, escort this man out." But there was no security, just the enforcement guy in the corner, looking confused. I kept going, sliding copies across the table. See for yourselves. Original lease from 2007. Payment stopped in 2019. Reversion clause activated. Effective immediately, all HOA authority ceases. Karen snatched a copy, scanning it furiously. Her pearls seemed to choke her. This can't be. We own this property. The developer sold us. No. I cut in, calm as ice. The developer, my aunt's company, leased you surface rights. You never bought the land. And now, with defaults, it reverts to me. Outrage exploded. Brad slammed his fist on the table. Bullshit. We've paid dues, maintained everything. You can't just waltz in and, actually I can. I pulled out the breach list, pages of fines, self-dealing, harassment. Material violations void the lease. Embezzlement? Attempted sale of my land? All documented. Donaise glace foged. She stammered, "We will sue. This is fraud." The room erupted. Residents stood, shouting questions. Is this real? What about our homes? Allies like Tom yelled support. About time someone stood up to you bullies. Karen regained composure, sort of. Her voice shook. Everyone calm down. This man is clearly delusional. We've operated for years without issue. Call the police. Someone did, phones out dialing. But I was prepared. Go ahead. The sheriff's department has copies already. This is civil, not criminal, yet. Brad lunged up, veins bulging. You think you can destroy us? I've got lawyers who'll bury you. I smiled. Mine are better. And cheaper, since I'm not skimming from residents. Laughter bubbled from the back. Nervous at first, then real. Karen's face purpled. How dare you? We've built this community. Enforce standards. Without us, it'd be a slum. Standards? I echoed, turning to the crowd. Like finding babies for crying? Ripping out gardens? Foreclosing on families over petty rules. Heads nodded. Murmurs grew to cheers. Yeah, doing. Donna whispered to Karen. Frantic. Karen banged the gavel repeatedly. Order. This meeting is adjourned. But nobody moved. A resident, Mr. Patel from earlier stories, stood. Wait, if he owns the land, what happens to us? I addressed the room. Good question. For honest residents? Nothing bad. I'll offer fair leases, dissolve this corrupt board, refund wrongful fines. But for the tyrants? I looked at Karen. Accountability. Brad charged toward me, fist clenched. You little. Tom stepped in, blocking him. Easy, big guy. Cameras rolling. Brad backed off, muttering threats. You'll regret this. My connections. Your connections built on my aunt's land? I quipped. Good luck. Police arrived. 2 officers, looking bored until they saw the chaos. Karen pointed at me. Arrest him. Trespassing. I handed them documents. Actually, officers, this is my property. They reviewed. Eyebrows raised. This seems legit. Civil matter. Take it to court. Karen iskrijev, aktual iskrijech. You can't be serious. We paid taxes. On leased land, I corrected. My land. The meltdown peaked. Donna burst into tears, mascara running. Everything we've worked for. Brad kicked a chair, storming out. This isn't over. Residents swarmed me with questions, hope in their eyes. Lisa hugged me quickly. You're a hero. But Karen? She gathered her papers, glaring daggers. You'll hear from our attorneys. This is war. I met her eyes. Bring it. I got the high ground, literally. The meeting dissolved into clusters, excited chatter, phone calls home. I slipped out amid the buzz, adrenaline crashing. Drove away with shaky hands, but a grin I couldn't wipe off. That night, group chat lit up. Epic. Karen's face, priceless. But threats rolled in too. An anonymous email, back off or else. I forwarded to Elena. Game on. But that was just the start. What came next? Shocked everyone. Even me. The morning after the meeting meltdown, my phone blew up like a fireworks factory. Text from rebels. You legend. Karen's car sped out at midnight. Running scared? Voicemails from unknown numbers. Heavy breathing. Then you'll pay for this. Elena called at dawn. Board's lawyers fired off a cease and desist. Claims you're trespassing, slandering. Laughable. We're counter-suing today for breach of contract, fraud, and the works. I grinned over coffee. War declared. Fine. I'd bring the artillery. First battle, the injunction. Elena filed for a temporary restraining order to freeze HOA operations. No more fines, meetings, or enforcements until court ruled on the lease. The judge granted it within 48 hours. Why? Overwhelming evidence of potential irreparable harm to residents. Boom. The clubhouse was locked. The pool closed for maintenance. Enforcement van vanished from streets. Residents noticed fast. Lisa messaged, no violation notice today. First time in years. Tom added, planted tomatoes again. Feels like freedom. But the board didn't roll over. Karen rallied. Posted flyers on every door, illegally, since the TRO barred it. Emergency alert. Fraudulent claim on property. Do not engage with intruder Alexander Reed. Included my photo from the meeting, grainy like a wanted poster. I laughed. Elena slapped them with a contempt motion. The judge fined the board personally, $5,000 each. Small win number 1. Escalation hit next. Brad's construction crew showed up at dawn, repairing the main gate. Actually, installing new locks to bar me out. I arrived with sheriff's deputies, papers in hand proving ownership. The crew scattered like roaches. Deputies changed the locks to mine. Brad fumed from his truck, yelling obscenities. I waved cheerfully. Thank for the free labor. Social media exploded. The Facebook group turned into a battlefield. Anonymous accounts. Obviously bored puppets, spread lies, reads a con artist. Check his criminal record. I had none. Rebels fought back. Board embezzled our dues. Proof coming. I stayed silent online, letting allies amplify. Then the lawsuits flew. The board sued me for defamation, interference, and emotional distress. Elena countered with our big gun. Class action on behalf of residents for refunded fines, damages. We named Karen, Brad, Donna personally, pierced the corporate veil with self-dealing evidence. Court dates set for preliminary hearing. In the meantime, small skirmishes piled up. Battle 2, the lake. HOA had drained it partially for algae control, but really, despite me, claimed it was common area maintenance. Water levels dropped, exposing muddy banks. The fish died. Residents complained about smells. I hired environmental experts, tested samples, proved negligence. Sued for property damage. The judge ordered a refill at the board's expense. $12,000 bill. Karen's pearl-clutching email to residents. Temporary setback due to sabotage. Hilarious. Amid the legal fireworks, I started playful revenge. Since the TRO gave me interim control, I enforced new guidelines. Send official letters, on fancy letterhead, to every home. To foster community spirit, mandatory neighborhood potluck this Saturday. Bring a dish. No fines for non-attendance, just good vibes. Turnout, massive. Over 100 residents in the park, my land, remember. Barbecues, kids playing, first time without fear. Karen showed up uninvited, arms crossed. This is unauthorized. I handed her a hot dog. It's mandatory fun, Karen. Join or leave. She stormed off. Photos went viral in the group. Small win, community bonding. But they fought dirty. One night, my Airbnb's tires slashed. No proof, but the enforcement guy's van cruised by earlier. I installed cameras, reported them to the police. No arrests, but it rattled me. Elena advised caution. They're desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Stupid indeed. Donna tried bribing a rebel. Offered Lisa $2,000 to delete evidence emails. Lisa recorded it, forwarded to us. We added extortion to the lawsuit. Donna esse meltdown in deposition? Priceless. Tearful denials, then I was just helping. Emotional beats hit harder with resident stories. Met the Martinezes over coffee. Dad, Carlos, shook my hand. We almost sold because of fines. Now, Hope, Sophia, the lifeguard teen, hugged me. You're like a superhero. The Wilsons? Their foreclosure was halted by our injunction. Sarah sent cookies. Ellie sleeps better knowing we're safe. Mike joined Rebels, digging dirt on Brad's shady deals. Small win 3, refund wave. Elena petitioned for partial disbursements from frozen HOA accounts. First batch, $150,000 back to residents for bogus fines. Checks mailed with my note. Courtesy of new management. Cheers echoed through the neighborhood. The board retaliated with PR spin. A local paper ran a story. Mystery heir disrupts upscale community. Quotes from Karen. He's destroying our way of life. I declined comment. Let facts speak. Then a twist. Whistleblower emerged. Former board treasurer, fired years ago for questioning finances. Contact me anonymously. They cooked books. I have backups. Met in a diner, hooded sweatshirt. Handed a USB. Spreadsheets showing kickbacks, inflated expenses. Karen's administrative fees funneled to her real estate biz. Elena hoped. This seals it. Fraud charges incoming. Battles escalated. Brad's crew accidentally bulldozed a section of fence, my fence. I sued for trespass. Won $8,000 in damages. Paid for new security cams everywhere. Playful jab, too. Aesthetic enhancements. I had crews paint the clubhouse doors bright blue, the color HOA banned. Residents loved it. Karen drove by, honked furiously. Emotional depth deepened. One evening, Tom Delgado shared his backstory. After Nam, this garden was therapy. They took that. I promised. When we win, community gardens for all. Alliance grew to 50 rebels. Secret meetings in backyards. planning testimonies, sharing laughs. It felt like a resistance movement. Close call. Tailing me home one night, Brad's truck swerved close. I pulled over, called the cops. He claimed coincidence. Warning issued. Adrenaline high, but resolve hardened. As court loomed, small wins stacked. Another $50,000 refunded, 3 board allies resigned, residents openly defying old rules. Basketball hoops up, flags flying. The board's dirty secrets were about to surface wide open. Would they fight even dirtier? Oh, they tried. With the small wins stacking up and the board on their heels, I knew it was time to go nuclear. The whistleblower's USB was burning a hole in my pocket. Spreadsheets, emails, the works. Elena reviewed it overnight. Alex, this isn't just corruption. It's a full-blown racket. Kickbacks from vendors, dues siphoned to personal accounts, even fake invoices for consulting services that never happened. Her voice crackled with excitement. We exposed this, and they're done. Personally bankrupt, maybe even jail time. I nodded, staring at the files on my laptop. Names jumped out. Karen wiring $15,000 to her sister's landscaping firm for work on her own yard. Brad approved $50,000 in repairs that looped back to his construction company. Donna logging administrative reimbursements for luxury spa trips. Total embezzlement, over $300,000 in 5 years. Stolen from residents who scraped by on mortgages and dues. But exposure needed strategy. No leaks yet. Surprise was key. I teamed deeper with the whistleblower, an older guy named Harold, pushed out in 2018 for asking too many questions. We met at a truck stop diner, booths sticky with syrup. He was nervous, glancing over his shoulder. They threatened me when I left, said I'd never work in real estate again. I assured him protection. Elena lined up witness immunity in our filings. Harold spilled more. Secret board emails plotting to hike dues to cover shortfalls from their skimming. One gem, Karen writing, residents won't notice another 5%. Sheep to the shear. Disgusting. To verify, I needed hard proof. Enter midnight stakeouts. Risky, but adrenaline-fueled. First target, Brad's office downtown. Parked across the street in a borrowed van. Rebels loaned it, tinted windows. I watched him leave at 9 p.m., lights off. I slipped in with a lockpick set. Thanks, online tutorials. Don't try this at home. Gloved hands, flashlight low. Rifled through drawers. Found duplicate ledgers. One public, sanitized. One real, padded expenses everywhere. Photographed pages. Heart pounding as a security guard's flashlight swept the lot outside. Clothes escaped through a back alley. Next, Karen's home office. Tailed her to a board retreat, code for golf outing. House empty. Neighbor rebel kept watch. In and out in 10 minutes. USB copies of her computer files matched Harold's. Emails to developers. Sell the back acres quiet. Split the profits 60/40ths. On my land. Attempted theft. Donna's turn. Easier. She worked from the clubhouse, now under my lock. I inspected during daylight. Rebels as cover. Found shredded papers in the trash. Pieced together enough to show altered bank statements. Tense moment. Her car pulled up unexpectedly. Hid in a bathroom stall, breathing shallowly as she grabbed forgotten files and left. Phew. With the evidence mountain, Elena drafted the bombshell. Amended lawsuit adding fraud, embezzlement, RICO claims. We'd file publicly, tipping off local media. But first, a private preview. I arranged a mediation meeting through lawyers, neutral ground, coffee shop conference room. The board showed with their slick attorney, smug as ever. Karen sneered. Come to beg? We'll bury you in appeals. I smiled, sliding over redacted evidence packets. Read. Faces paled as they flipped. Brad swore. Donna gasped. Karen's hand shook. Where? How? Doesn't matter, Elena said coolly. Withdraw your suits. Resign. Repay every cent. Or this goes public tomorrow. Their lawyer blustered. Unsubstantiated. We'll fight. A crack showed. Donna whispered frantically to Karen. Brad stormed out, slamming the door. They didn't fold immediately. Instead, desperation peaked. That night, my Airbnb got egged, juvenile but message clear. reported it, installed more cams. The next day, the exposure dropped. Elena filed the amended complaint at 9 a.m. I alerted a local reporter, hungry for scandal. By noon, headline, Emerald Crest HOA board accused of embezzling hundreds of thousands. Story detailed fines funneled to personal pockets, resident hardships. Quoted anonymous rebels. They find my crying baby while buying yachts. Social media ignited. A Facebook group flooded with outrage. Former residents chimed in. They drove us out. Hashtags trended. Hashtag HOL, hashtag Karen downfall. The board panicked. Karen issued a denial press release. Baseless attacks from a greedy outsider. But the damage was done. Residents picketed the clubhouse. Signs reading, refund our money. Police called for crowd control. Turning tables accelerated. With fraud in the public, the judge fast-tracked our case. Preliminary ruling, board assets frozen. No more spending sprees. Whistleblower Harold testified in deposition. Nailed them with specifics. Donna cracked first. Cut a deal. Immunity for flipping. Her statement? Karen orchestrated it all. I just followed. Betrayal stung them. Brad lawyered up separately. Karen fought solo, but evidence overwhelmed. Satisfying reveals piled on. At a public town hall I organized on my land, naturally, we presented findings. Projector slides, timelines of theft, victim impacts. Residents gasped, then applauded. Tom stood. I lost my garden, but they lost our trust. Cheers. One twist. Uncovered Karen's bribe attempt to a county official for favorable zoning. Forwarded to the DA. A criminal probe was opened. The alliance solidified. Rebels now a formal group, petitioning for new governance. I offered, co-op model, residents own shares fairly. Tense stakeout redux. Followed Brad to a shady meet with fixers. Recorded audio, plotting to destroy evidence. Busted. Added obstruction charges. As walls closed, board meltdowns went viral. Karen's screechy voicemail to me leaked. Anonymously, you'll rot for this. Laugh with Elena over pizza. Subscribe if you're loving this revenge roller coaster. More epic tales coming. With proof locked and loaded, it was time for the final showdown. But would it go quietly? Hell no. The courthouse steps felt like the top of the world that crisp autumn morning. Elena and I arrived early, rebels trailing behind. Tom with his vet hat tipped low, Lisa clutching a folder of her own evidence, the Wilsons pushing little Ellie stroller. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Board members huddled with their lawyers, Karen's platinum bob looking wilted, Brad's comb-over slick with sweat, Donna avoiding eye contact. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, banged her gavel. Case 4782, Reed versus Emerald Crest HOA. Preliminary rulings on summary judgment. Elena stood first, voice like steel. Your Honor, evidence shows clear lease default, fraud, embezzlement. We move for immediate dissolution of the HOA, restitution to residents, and personal liability for defendants. Their lawyer objected, blustered about due process, disputed facts. But the judge waved him off. I've reviewed the filings. Whistleblower testimony, financial forensics, attempted sabotage. It's damning. She turned to me. Mr. Reed, as landowner, your reversion claim holds. HOA dissolved effective immediately. Assets liquidated for refunds. Board members, joint and several liability for $425,000 in damages. The room erupted. Cheers from rebels, gasps from the board. Karen leaped up. This is outrageous. Appeal. The judge's eyes narrowed. File it, but pay up first. Next case. Outside, the media swarmed, cameras flashing, reporters shouting. I gave a quick statement. Justice for the little guys. Karen shoved through, muttering threats. But it was over. Or so I thought. Dissolution kicked off the grand revenge. First move. Reclaim symbols of their tyranny. The clubhouse, that white-columned eyesore where they'd lorded over meetings. I hired demo crews. Not full teardown yet. Started with the boardroom. Ripped out the gavel block, the fancy chairs, The portrait of Karen they'd hung like a queen. Residents watched, popcorn in hand. Tom laughed. Feels like Bastille Day. Next, the enforcement van. Towed it to a scrapyard, crushed it flat while rebels filmed. Uploaded to the group chat. No more patrols. Cheers emojis flooded in. Fair buyouts followed. For good residents? Offered to purchase their surface rights at market value or convert to fair leases. $500 annual, no petty rules. Most jumped. The Martinezes signed first. Our home, finally ours. Sophia planted a garden that afternoon. But for offenders? Evictions with teeth. Started with Donna, least villainous but complicit. Gave her 30 days, fair buyout minus her share of damages. She took it, slunk away in a U-Haul. Brad fought harder. His McMansion backed the back acres he tried selling. I served eviction papers personally. He answered the door shirtless, beer in hand. You can't do this. Watch me. Crews arrived the next day. Changed locks while he was at work. He sued, lost. Sold his house at a loss. Moved to a condo downtown. Last I heard, working as a handyman. Poetic. Karen? The queen bee. Her estate was the crown jewel. 3 stories, pool, guest house. Built with embezzled funds, per audits. I offered buyout. Appraised value minus $150,000 restitution. She refused. Over my dead body. So eviction it was. The sheriff served notice. She barricaded inside, calling the media victim of greedy air. But evidence killed sympathy. Residents picketed her driveway. Pay back our money. Twist 1. Sabotage attempt. Night before her move-out deadline, alarms blared. My new security cam caught it. Brad and a buddy sneaking in, gasoline cans in hand. Arson in the clubhouse? Deputies arrested the mid-pour. Brad's fixers from earlier stakeouts. Charges. Attempted arson, conspiracy. Bail denied. Karen's frantic calls recorded, implicating herself. Added to her tab. Foiled. She crumbled. Signed a buyout at 2 a.m. Lawyers haggling over pennies. I took possession at dawn. First act. Demolished her prized rose garden, the one she'd fined others for mimicking. Turned it into a community playground. Kids swung on new sets while parents barbecued. Emotional high. Sarah Wilson teared up. Ellie's first swing without fear. Triumfan moments stica. Refund, checks mailed. Total $375,000 distributed. Mr. Delgado got $2,800 back and planted the biggest vegetable patch. For the grandkids, he said, handing me fresh tomatoes. Another twist, hidden asset hunt. Elena's forensics uncovered offshore accounts, Karen's retirement fund. The court seized it, boosted refunds another $50,000. Donna flipped more dirt in exchange for leniency. Peak climax, the grand reopening, transformed the land. The dissolved HOA became Whitaker Community Co-op. Resident elected board, fair rules, focus on fun. I donated 20 acres for affordable housing, named after Aunt Evelyn. Groundbreaking ceremony, shovels in dirt, cheers echoing. Karen's final stand showed up uninvited, screaming. This was mine. Security escorted her out. Last sighting, driving away in a dented sedan, Pearl's Pond. Emotional rap. Stood on my hill, overlooking it all. From broke renter to justice dealer. Grateful residents threw a party. Potluck mandatory, but voluntary. Toast raised. To Alex. But wait, future plans teased more. With the board dissolved and the evictions wrapped, Emerald Crest transformed overnight. No more locked gates or violation slips in mailboxes. I walked the streets that first free morning, sun rising over what was now Whitaker Community Co-op. Residents waved from porches, kids biked without fear of fines, and for the first time, the air felt light, like a weight lifted off everyone's shoulders. I started the overhaul small, but symbolic. The clubhouse? Repurposed into a true community center. Yoga classes in the mornings, book clubs at night, free for all. No dues required, just show up. Tom Delgado led the charge on the gardens. We carved out 5 acres for communal plots. He planted the first seeds, grandkids helping, soil rich under their hands. This is what a neighborhood should be, he said. wiping dirt from his brow. His fines refunded. He even donated tools to new gardeners. Happy ending? His blood pressure dropped, the doctor said. No more meds. The Martinezes threw a block party that weekend, first in years without HOA approval. Sophia blasted music from speakers in the driveway, no noise complaints. Carlos grilled carne asada, sharing stories of how close they'd come to leaving. You saved our home, he told me over a beer. They leased their plot fair and square, even added a swing set for the kids. Sophia started a teen volunteer group, cleaning the lake, planting flowers. Her smile said it all, future bright. The Wilsons? Their house is secure, foreclosure a bad memory. Sarah sent photos of Ellie toddling in the yard, no soundproofing needed. She's a chatterbox now, she laughed. Mike got promoted at work, stress gone, focus sharp. They hosted playdates, turning their home into a hub for young families. Refund check framed on the wall, reminder of second chances. Lisa Thompson, the single mom nurse, she ran for the co-op board and won. No more bike fines. Her son raised friends on new paths we paved. I feel seen, she said at our first co-op meeting. We voted in simple rules. Respect neighbors, help when needed. Do us. Voluntary contributions for upkeep. Transparency reports monthly. No secrets. Villain's comeuppance lingered sweet. Donna faded quickly, moved to a tiny apartment, working retail. Whispers said she volunteered at a soup kitchen now, making amends. Brad? Post-arson bust, he pled guilty to lesser charges. Community service, cleaning public parks. Saw him once, sweaty in an orange vest, picking trash. Waved. He scowled. Karen fought longest, appeals denied, assets seized. Sold her pearls to cover legal fees. Last sighting, waitressing at a diner outside town. Customers complained about her attitude. Irony thick. The land itself bloomed. I donated chunks for good. 10 acres to a local farm co-op, growing produce for food banks. The back 20? Affordable housing units, ground broken with shovels engraved from tyranny to community. Aunt Evelyn's name on the plaque. Felt right, honoring her quiet rebellion. Financially, the inheritance settled. After refunds and legal costs, I banked enough to quit my soul-sucking job. Bought a modest house on the edge, overlooking it all but not lording. Invested in green energy, solar panels on co-op buildings, wind turbines in the fields. Sustainable, like the change we built. Reflecting back, this wasn't just about revenge. It was a lesson in entitlement. How a few abuse power, thinking they're above the rest. Karen's crew saw residents as peasants, dues as tribute. But justice? It levels fields. Show me anyone can fight back with facts and heart. From broke apartment dweller to land baron, I learned humility too. Power's a tool, not a crown. Happy endings rippled wide. Rebels stayed friends. Monthly potlucks mandatory fun. One couple got engaged at the lake. Fireworks we set off legally. Even the environment healed. Algae gone, fish restocked. Birds returned, nesting in oaks Aunt Evelyn loved. Teas of the future? I'm eyeing expansion. More co-ops on unused acres. Maybe write a book, HOA Hell to Haven. Or start a consulting gig, helping others dismantle bad boards. The fight's not over. Entitled folks lurk everywhere. But for now, Emerald Crest, renamed Whitaker Haven, stands as proof. Change starts with one inheritance, one stand. Grateful? Beyond words. To Aunt Evelyn, wherever she is, thanks for the plot twist. Oh, there you have it, folks. The wild ride from unexpected inheritance to HOA takedown. I went from scraping by in a dingy apartment to owning 1,000 acres and dismantling a nest of entitled tyrants. Key takeaways? Entitlement crumbles when faced with facts and unity. Those board members thought they were kings, but resident stories and solid evidence proved otherwise. Justice isn't always swift, but when it hits, it's satisfying. Remember, stand up to bullies, whether in your neighborhood or life. You might just win big. If this story fired you up, smash that like button. It helps more than you know. Drop your HOA horror stories in the comments below. Have you dealt with a Karen level board? Spill the tea. I read everyone. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications. More revenge tales, underdog wins, and epic comeuppances coming your way. Thanks for watching. Stay empowered, stay watching. Peace out.